there's no wall dividing spiritual life and life. there's no okay, on this day only we do things, and then every other day we can just do whatever we want. There's an inseparable expression of the spiritual essence of life. The expat spiritual movement being implanted here because Bali is inherently spiritual. Ubud is the heart of the island. It's always been, I'm saying that the arts and the culture is Ubud. And then people came in and created businesses that weren't native to here, but brought another element to it and energized another frequency. Ecstatic dance has a very distinct sound.
Yes.
This is ecstatic dance. And you can take this to other things. This is what it is, right? And so people start to, they start to contain what was once a free expression to make it sound, because there's a formula to get people into these states. It's very, very easy to duplicate the formula.
Yo, sit down, let's dig into your spiritual ego. Think you're looking fly, white linen kimono, got your yoni egg in. I think you're ready. Yeah, it's time for Ubud on tea.
Is this recording? Yeah. So you put the sign, does that mean we're live, we're on air?
We are now on air, live.
Oh, wow.
Sign's on, and now I can just get rid of the sign because it's kind of annoying.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to talk to you about is on Saturday, there was a little get-together over at Tia's house.
Yeah, I missed it. I was on a little trip in the mountains.
Yes, you were. You were in nature. You told me about that, and maybe you can tell our people about it later, probably on another episode, but it was really cool to hear. But I wanted to talk to you about the beautiful gathering that happened. You've been to Tia's house before. And she had tea, because her name's Tia, fruit, there was a dinner, and there was beautiful music there. And at one point, Pavan was there. It was like, it became like Hanuman-esque. Acharya was playing. Acharya did the DJ set. It was amazing. If you guys don't know who Alex Acharya is, the Acharya effect is amazing. But the moment where I got to shine was Kia Ki came into the house. And there was music playing, a lot of hang drum.
Kia Ki, who makes these beautiful kimonos.
Exactly. And she was on fire. She was just like freestyling and really just like being loud and going off, and created like a space for me to do it, which was fun. And at the same time, it didn't feel more than play. It was play. And then Haley Carr grabbed the guitar and started singing the song about the ancient ancestors. And I was just trying to hear her voice, and I felt into it. And there was a moment where she looked at me, and it was like, boom, and I got this opportunity to freestyle, and it didn't even feel like rap or like poetry. It just felt like I was like sharing a download about how the past is actually the technology that we are looking for in the future. It was such a beautiful moment. Yeah, it was really powerful.
Yeah, and I've seen how you got more and more comfortable freestyling and going improv style at those artistic events. And that's like inspiring.
Thank you.
Inspiring.
I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that we, like, because of the guest that we have on today, because I look at him and I'm like, whoa, that guy is so smooth with the microphone. He's so good.
Kamau.
Yeah, he's so good with the microphone.
Actually, it's interesting. With Kia Ki, about maybe a year and a half ago, I went to a workshop on poetry with Kamau. And yeah, really unlocked a part of my creativity, which is writing poems. And since then, I've started, not so consistently, but sometimes writing poetry. And it's been something about creativity that I feel Ubud has allowed me to do, whether it's with music, whether it's with comedy improv and freestyle and poetry, is that there's a lot of people here that really inspire me to get into my creative side. Well, you know, I come from business school, and in the matrix world, I wasn't so creative. And so I had that with Kia Ki and Kamau a year and a half ago. I just remember, now you tell me about it, that poetry workshop that was really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. I also did a course with Kamau, and the reason I did the course with Kamau is because I see that he's all over the place doing things. Like he's doing things, like we're doing things. Like Ubud on Tea is us doing things.
He's doing a lot of things here in that beautiful Dragon Tea Temple.
At the beautiful Dragon Tea Temple where we're at today. Yes, I actually got a really cool opportunity a couple of weeks ago. It was our friend Abria had his activation. It's his favorite word, activation. And he asked for us to come in, and Pal was performing there, and asked for myself and Kamau to come and like step on the mic and do a little bit of poetry and freestyling and stuff like that. It was really, really cool. And I agree with you about Ubud. There's something about this place where you have a quality of artistic energy, and because of the artistic energy, you have a quality of artist that's very high. Yeah. Yet there is like this availability and this like people can just step on stage even if they don't have experience. Like there's the barrier to entry is not very big, but as soon as you get in, the escalation of level gets high fast. And it's really cool because if you're around people, it's like that idea of the 5 people who you spend the most time with. Well, like because it's a small town, but it doesn't feel like a small town. You get to spend time with really powerful, really talented, skillful people that are coming from the heart. So they're like letting you in.
Exactly, they're like encouraging.
Yes.
Because you can be in a group of friends where when you try to start something, it's not very encouraging.
Yeah.
And it's good to have that vibe here.
Yeah, totally. I vibe with that. And you're actually one of those people for me. Like I was at your house, bonfire's going, you get the guitar out, and you're like, come on, Lawrence, let's hear it. And I'm like, and then I just go. And that's when one of the things is I learned, like, it's kind of like comedy improv that we talk about sometimes. Sometimes the best is not to be prepared, just show up and just go.
Yeah.
Especially if you're encouraged and you're in a safe space. Ubud is like that.
I mean, that's the vibe. That's the vibe we give a bit to our podcasts too, right? It's like we have a certain level of preparation, but we want to make them more flowy and outside the script than some of the usual podcasts.
The more we prepare, the better it goes. That's what I would say. But yeah, I agree with you. We're looking for the flow, and then we get the structure from the Alex Lambert, the banks to the river. Yeah. I think we're ready to bring our guest on. I'm feeling it. So, for those of you at home and in the crowd, this man has inspired me over the last 10 years, but I'd say like honestly mostly the last year because I've been marinating in Ubud. He is so many things, and I'm not going to introduce him by any one things because identity is something that I look and I like to diffuse when I speak about him, and I learn about identity and how to create it from him too. So well dressed as always, styling as always, smooth as always. Please come out, join us at the tea table.
Yeah. Peace. Welcome.
Welcome,
Kamau.
Feeling welcomed.
Peace and malam.
I know you love a good tea. So this is Chaud Pu'er. And Chaud Pu'er, so Pu'er, it comes from Yunnan, a province in China. This one's called, I got my notes, Mystic River. It comes from an ancient tree, it's from 2009. And has quite a strong, rich liqueur. And because it's also a fermented tea. You can feel it's got that kind of from old trees, you can feel. And so we're here drinking some tea in the beautiful Dragon Tea Temple next to Zest. They have those amazing, delicious tea with several of those beautiful tea tables with dragons. How beautiful are they?
This is not a paid advertisement.
No, but you can buy them on the link ubudontea.com.
And the really cool thing that I always appreciate about these is that they have the I Ching hexagrams on these tea placements, placement holders, the tea plate, if you want to call it. And I like this one. This 15th hexagram. So if you turn the flip side, you can see
24.
24. So each of them have a meaning. So 24, inner truth. 15, modesty. What you got? Or you have?
I don't have
so
one.
you got them all.
Oh,
They're all on
dragons.
here, right? All 64. So cool.
I probably don't have modesty.
You're the
When
book
you
of
look at the
changes.
table, doesn't look like modesty.
That was unexpected. We actually spoke about being able to take a moment and see, like, energetically what has been gifted to us by the gods, so to speak. And you just were like 24, 15. It's amazing. Very cool.
How y'all doing today? How
We're
y'all doing
good.
today?
I mean, I'm good. This is our third podcast, like the third interview that we're doing back to back to back. So it's a lot of tea in the system right now.
Oh yeah. So it's just constant runs to the bathroom, huh?
No, I know how to preserve. I know how to gather and to
It's small cups.
transmute.
It's not so much liquid, but it's a lot of. It's like a beautiful energy because it's good tea, but it's also a stimulant. So we're definitely high on tea.
Cool.
But I find that those good teas they have a stimulating effect, but it doesn't make me anxious like coffee or like overstimulated. I feel like a certain sharpness and clarity of mind. So it's actually perfect for recording 3 podcasts in one day. Yeah.
Keep flowing. Keep flowing.
And yeah, I mean, tea has been taking over Ubud, I feel, in the past year.
Yeah, cacao is like, what happened?
Yeah. you can see it used to be kirtans around cacao, and now kirtans they're here with tea, right?
Right.
And I feel, the tea culture has been taking over Ubud. I think that place, Dragon Tea Temple, definitely helped with that. There's a lot of very beautiful events here. Actually, that's our first question for you, Kamau. I know you do a lot of events in that beautiful space, Dragon Tea Temple. And you're also someone who goes to the next level of creativity, combining different practices. So, like, do you feel this place has taken Ubud's creativity to the next level? And do you feel it's inspired you also to go to the next level in terms of what you offer?
Well, a couple things with that. One, I don't do a lot of events here, but I share in other friends' events, and I've spent a lot of time in Bali, not only Ubud, just in Bali in general. And there was a period a long time ago where I just had to stop going to events because every event I go to, I couldn't even just sit back and watch people be like, come on stage. I'd be like, man, I'm just chilling tonight, man. Can I just chill? But now that energy is vibrant and alive again, and I want to be supportive of all the friends who are doing this great stuff and this great work, and to be able to show up and to share the mic is no problem. Now, if it keeps happening, then I'm like, all right, y'all, I'm at the house tonight. But right now is great because there's been such a gap in an actual venue that supports new ways of expressing what has already been here. Because that's all we're doing. We're just expressing what has been in just different ways and newer ways. So the fact that Dragon Tea Temple has roots with the tea as its focus, and the tea gathers people together for good conversations, stimulating thought patterns and expressions. It's intimate, so it allows for a level of focus which you don't find in a lot of venues. So it caters.
For example, I've been also to your events at cafe. It's a very different energy because people are having food and it's spread around, so it has more that cafe energy. While here you get more of the focus.
Well,
Like a
not that
unified
cafe
field.
doesn't get focus, because ultimately I bring the focus. Just a different people. You step into here already with there's a certain elegance that's present. So it's a level of respect that you just walk in with because the way it's set up. There's a lot of traditional elements in this space. You find, the I Ching is right here on the wall. You have all this beautiful tea that's coming from China that has been cultivated, and people who love the art of tea have put a lot of time and effort into it. You have the bonsai over here, so you have Japanese elements to it. There's a lot of refinement in the space, so when you step into it, you want to be in alignment with that. So you are more conscious of what you're doing and hopefully what you're saying. And that's what I feel the intent is with the space. And so when offerings are being presented in here, they have to be in alignment with that. And you know, the folks who established this spot know what's up. So the people who have been offering things have been really potent. So I have no issue with sharing.
Can I ask you for you also, Lawrence? Like, do you feel this space for you personally has changed your life in Ubud?
For sure. I remember when it first opened, I was kind of like stepping back. I was like just watching everything that was happening here, and I wasn't jumping in. It just felt like too new and too trendy. And I think the first time I was ever here was for a kirtan. I think that you were at that kirtan too. Yeah. And I sat down and I was like,
Lina was that.
Yeah. And it was forget the Jeremy's kirtan. But it was such a beautiful experience. And it was a completely different kirtan than I'd ever been to. I think the tea, obviously, the offering, and then I went to that Blue Lotus event. Anyhow, this is a place, like Kamau says, that has elegance, has style, and it's sexy. And what it brought up for me when you were speaking is the guys are opening one in Canggu. And right now the association is so strongly Ubudian. So I think of this place and I think of this is something that, it's a jewel that Ubud has, per se. As we're talking about consciousness and art, like being able to be spread on a high level all over the world, do you feel like this place is going to be able, like, what's it going to be like in Canggu? Do you think there's going to be a different vibe? Do you think it's going to have the same intimate? Do you think it's still going to have the same elegance?
Well, sure. I mean, Canggu is a different energy. And when you have a certain aesthetic that you commit to, doesn't matter where you put it. It's going to attract the people who are in alignment with that energy. And I'm always one to look at these different areas, and I'm not one to be like playing the stereotypes of the area. Because when I go somewhere, I'm going to meet people who are in alignment with what I'm dealing with, and they're everywhere. And so in Canggu, when I go to Canggu, I'm not like meeting up with people whose focus is just on, you know, drinking bintangs every night. I'm not meeting them. I'm meeting focused people who are about it, just like people who are about it up here. You know, my path in learning and spirituality wasn't in Ubud. I was on this long before Ubud. You know, I don't come from, like, I didn't hear about Burning Man until I came to Ubud. I grew up in San Francisco.
Wow.
You know, but I grew up in Fillmore. I didn't grow up in wherever Burning Man people hang out. You know, so my spirituality is grounded spirituality. It's not something that's separate from the people. It's something that can navigate within any environment, and in fact has a connection to go into these particular places to activate people who are in those environments in order to radiate out a new frequency there. You feel what I'm saying? So if this place opens there, that's beautiful, because elegance sure can be used in certain areas, more areas than others, you know? So I don't see why not. It'd be just as successful, and the people who are living down there will bring that energy and the refinement of that energy and, you know, of Canggu, and bring it to that space. That'd be dope.
Awesome. Really well said. I want to go deeper into your spiritual journey, because that inspires me. But before we do that, since the conversation is not what Ubud isn't, what has Ubud infused you with?
Well, this place has been felt like an assignment for me always, right? Because trust me, I've tried to leave quite a few times. and a couple times things happened that prevented me from leaving. And the one time I actually made it out, and then something happened that brought me right back.
Yeah, Mama Bali doesn't let you leave that easily.
Well, it depends who you are and what you're offering, right? Because it'll kick you right out. I've seen a lot of people just like, nah, get up out of here. Bali be like, get up out, right? So, but for me personally, just the element that I bring to the table is in harmony with what it was bringing for me, which was the allowance to step deeper into just what my purpose is. And what my purpose is related a lot to harmony and balance, and bringing that to whatever space I enter. And so as so much, and I was here before the spiritual movement. And when I say spirit, I mean the spiritual movement being implanted here, because Bali is inherently spiritual. Ubud is the heart of the island. It's always been. I'm saying that the arts and the culture is Ubud. And then people came in and created businesses that weren't native to here, but brought another element to it and energized another frequency, which is connected with medicine, which is what Ubud is about, right? So what it means, it's medicine. Mm-hmm. So anybody who was in alignment with the energy of providing healing and transformation and the rebalancing of one's own energy field and bringing that back out into the world, they're going to be attracted to Ubud. That's why it attracts so many people for healing, right?
And so it's the name, right? Ubud, it comes from Obad, I think, which means medicine in Balinese.
Yeah. So it's provided me an opportunity to meet people from all over the world who are engaging in the healing arts practices. And when I say all over the world, I literally mean that. Like, I have friends on every continent. I can go to any continent and meet folks who will be like, oh, what's up? Which is a blessing, and it's such a rare for the majority of people in the world. So Ubud is very much special in that way of people really, wherever they're at in that process, they're in that process of transformation, right? And that's one of the beauty things about it. Now, a lot of times people will, like we talk about Ubud, Canggu, everybody's in the process. It's just when people come and base up in Ubud, they're just committing a little bit further to that process and all the mess that it can bring up and all the healing that it can bring up. A lot of the new awarenesses that can emerge from being here.
And I feel that's a reality for expats like us who came to Ubud and are aligned with that maybe growth or spiritual calling of Ubud. And I guess in how Ubud infused you, there is that culture, and I know you're also really honoring the Balinese culture here in Ubud. So I would say in that Ubud culture, bring it back to what's more Balinese, like how has Balinese culture infused you?
Oh, it's like when I first came, I mean, it's what drew me to Bali. It's like there's no wall dividing spiritual life and life. there's no okay, on this day only we do things, and then every other day we can just do whatever we want. There's an inseparable expression of the spiritual essence of life. I mean, the principle of Sri Hitakarana is about that union of self and the divine, self and the community, self and nature, which is inherent in every traditional culture all over the planet, but it's still the foundation of this community on this island. Whereas in so many places, it's kind of been watered down, filtered away, taken over.
Go to church on Sunday, but the rest of the week forget about it.
Sure. So here there's a total honoring of it consistently. Consistently. I mean, some of the most open and vibrant and naturally welcoming people. I mean, I haven't been everywhere, but I've been a lot of places, and I just don't see a duplicate of it anywhere. And I mean, authentically natural. It's like you could just meet someone from here and they'll be like, hey, what's up? How you doing? Where you from? Oh, come to my wedding. You feel me? It's like, all right. And all of a sudden you're having a rich experience. And so, and as it's gotten more tourists coming in, that dynamic has changed somewhat, but the essence is still there, and you feel it more when you get out of the kind of the zones and just go into the natural aspect. You can feel it really, really strong. And so that's because of that. And coming here, I arrived like 18 years ago, almost 18 years ago, and that was just prevalent everywhere. It's just like, whoa, I've never experience, just looking at the reverence of family, just how family is elevated, to know that regardless of what happens in your life, you have a community that is got you. It's coming from America. I'll speak about America, I'm sure of other places too, but it's crazy. It's not common. So Bali. And I feel that a lot of people, even if they aren't directly interacting with the Balinese community, still feel that vibration because it's just all over the island. know.
Yeah. 18 years. That is a lot. And I mean, I've been here over probably the last 12 years back and forth, so that's also a lot. There's probably been like all kinds of different waves between like the beginning of this Western spiritual movement that you've seen start to take it over to, I mean, one of the things that I'm noticing a lot is like a lot of Russian people are here, that kind of stuff. How do you find that, how have those like infused Ubud or affected the island? Have you felt that?
I mean, I feel it. I can't really speak to it from a like just a direct local standpoint. I'm not in their, you know, their community meetings talking about it, and I'm sure it's happening. But I can feel it, and I can see it's, you know, if we think of neo-colonialism, you know, it's happened just throughout history. Things happen in one place and people migrate to other places. And because Bali is such a welcoming place, and relative to where a lot of people are coming from, the cost of living and having a high lifestyle is easier than where a lot of people are coming from. It's easy for people to come in and then just invite their friends, and they just start creating their colony and not really connecting. And because the money is needed for the local economy, then it's just allowed to happen. And I don't see that as right or wrong. It's not about right or wrong, though I do feel that there are ways to elevate this process, that it's not something that can be controlled. You know, it's like, but there is a way of allowing people who do come to Bali to be able to get the basic principles of just how things move here. You know, even down to the simplest things of understanding temple etiquette. Temples everywhere. You know, there's offerings and things happening all the time. And a lot of people come from other places with their own cultural expressions and attitudes and just don't know local dynamics. And so they may not be trying to be offensive or something, but just being unaware and ignorant, and so being offensive to something. So I feel that there are ways to bridge that gap where people have a greater understanding and can have a more conscious knowing of what has brought them here on an energetic level, which is because there's such strong community here. There's such the devotion to the unseen dynamics of life, which infuses a certain magnetism that has drawn people here so they can feel their spiritual life. And they can make choices on which directions they want to move in relationship to that. Do they want to give energy to this aspect of their spirit, to this aspect of their spirit, bring them together, explore something that was never allowed to explore because of wherever they were coming from? I mean, Bali provides the whole spectrum of experience. All of it for one to expand and grow and to heal and move into the next phase of whatever they want to move into. Right? So if a person is coming in with let's say a purely capitalist mindset because they come here from the grind, the hustle of whatever city they came from, they come here on vacation, they discover that, oh my goodness, I can get this here, oh my goodness, and they could care less about Bali. They're just like, whoa, I can make a lot of money here. And then they dump some money in something, they buy some stuff, but they didn't integrate into the dynamics of Bali. Now, sure, regardless, it's going to be a learning experience. Whatever the difficulties they may come across on one, it's going to be a learning experience they can learn from. Another way is to actually just take the time to learn and then properly be able to offer to Bali, because what do we see is really a core principle is offering. That's why there are offerings everywhere. You know, so a lot of people ask me, I want to do some stuff here. What do you think? And they often will come to me for advice on that. I just say, well, what do you have to offer? What's your offering? You know, what is it that you're providing to Bali? And when I say offering, I don't mean like this is my offering to sell and do a workshop and make money. I mean, what are you offering purely from the heart, where you're expecting nothing in return for this offering? What is that? And if you're able to commit to that and to provide that for the totality of the island, not just a community of friends who are coming from some place that's not here, but what are you offering that's going to benefit the entirety of this place? And if a person is able to do that, I find Bali will say, thank you. Okay. And Bali will start moving stuff out the way to clear the path so you can do that offering to the highest ability.
I do agree. And you mentioned Burning Man earlier, and I feel like in a modern economic structure, Bali has a lot of that energetics of Burning Man, of a gift, so to speak, economy.
Sure.
Yeah, really, that's something that you brought up that I'm like, oh yeah, totally.
And you said
energy.
something earlier, like before I came and sat, about how Bali provides an opportunity for people who are just getting their abilities going and discovering where they're at in their creativity and expressing. It provides a safe space for people to have an audience and get feedback on what they want to do and what they're presenting, and learn from people who have been doing it for a while. It definitely provides that, which is another beautiful thing about this place. And in that, there is the uplift of not only a person, but also the people who are receiving that, to be able to have in one night someone who's first time ever doing something, and then right after then someone who's doing it forever, in the same energy, and everybody being supported. It's totally beautiful, and that's also a rare thing.
Yeah, I feel they're quite advanced in many things that I didn't realize before, and that I'm learning to realize more and more. So you spoke, Lawrence, about that gift economy. Being into blockchain and cryptos, I realized how they have a decentralized structure of like power here with the Banjar system, which is actually something I think very advanced, and that works probably better than the very hierarchical things we have in some of our Western countries. I also start to explore how temples are really technologies, and it's not like, I think there's a lot we don't understand, probably most of the Balinese don't understand, but like the more I look into it, there's like some very sophisticated technology with how the temples are built, how the old village are built, and where they're placed, and it's not random that this island is so protected energetically. There's like definitely something there that I'm getting more and more into. Even this weekend I was on a land that we have with a community, more around the Munduk area, and they have those wind turbines, and at first I thought, oh, that's weird, they're just making noise, and they say it's just for fun. But then I really connected with it, and it sounds almost like a didgeridoo kind of vibe. So I was like, oh wow, there's like a frequency there that's like kind of profound, even though I don't understand all of it. So I feel like the more I spend time here, the more I get into that. I feel like a big vortex also for me, being more included in the Balinese culture and Indonesia in general, is learning the language. I'm curious, do you speak Indonesian, or are you learning?
Indonesian, yeah. Balinese, very, very much more.
I think to me, Indonesian would be enough, let's say, to create that bond. Even though here they also have the Balinese language, but that adds a bit.
Sure. I mean, if you plan on not traveling in Indonesia, then learn some Bali. You know, I'm trying to up that aspect. But
yeah,
if you're going through Indonesia,
because all the Balinese would speak Indonesian, and if they see a foreigner speaking Indonesian, I feel that's enough to really create that extra bond, and that you don't really need the Balinese, but that creates that extra bond. So
sure.
Yeah. So you speak a bit Indonesian.
Yeah.
You too, Lawrence? Are you learning?
Artisitc. I can't say. You know,
nice Indo with a Russian accent.
Yeah. The little syndicate. I could definitely speak. I speak enough where the local people throw back at me like a slingshot, and I'm like I don't know how to respond anymore. Yeah. Yeah.
Saya tidak mengerti. That means I don't understand. It's like in Russian, the only thing I know is "Я не говорю по-русски."
Yeah, you do it really well. The French accent really helps you. I'd love to hear Kamau speak a little bit of Russian.
Привет.
There you go. That's great.
Yeah, that's it. It doesn't go further than that. But I mean, it's a great point. Language is bridges to culture. You know, even if you just know a little bit, it just lets someone know that, hey, someone is trying to connect. You know, and because English is so prevalent now, it's really easy not to. It's really easy to just slip on in and not connect.
Yeah, let's say it. If you live in Ubud, and you're an expat, you don't need to speak Indonesian. You can go pretty much everywhere in cafes and you'll be fine.
I mean, in Bali now, you can go just because, tourism is the dominant economy. So, everyone is speaking English now, so it makes it a bit harder. I get that.
But what I heard from people who speak well Indonesian is like it creates a totally different relationship.
Sure, that's my point. It opens up the door to be invited further, because again, so 18 years ago, you kind of had to. If you wanted to stay here, you had to learn some Indo, or you would constantly be like, what, and then don't even try to get stuff done, because with folks who just don't speak any English, you're just gonna have all kind of stuff go wrong. So, but over time, now there's so much English from everybody that it makes it more difficult. You have to make a conscious effort to connect. You have to make a conscious, and people like their comfort zones. I get it. People come from different places. They want to be around what makes them comfortable. They're in a new place, blah, 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 blah. But part of which is somewhat lost, is that traveler mentality that when you base up somewhere, it kind of diminishes a bit. When you travel, it's just like, man, I ain't trying to see nobody where I'm from. I just left y'all. I don't want to come all the way across the world and then see more of y'all.
And they're all here.
You feel me? So it's like, that's cool, but a lot of people are coming from, they're traveling like this, like scared. You feel me? So when they go to a place, they just want to surround themselves with people who are just doing the exact same thing. But that's not where the deeper growth lies. The deeper growth lies in putting yourself in situations that you haven't experienced, being around people who you may never have met, and then gaining the wisdom from those exchanges. It's definitely not about not being around your folks. Of course, you're your folks. You want to be around. But also expanding the spectrum of who is our folks. I got folks from all over the world, right? All different levels of quote-unquote class, socioeconomic backgrounds. I can go down to the villages. I can go, chilling with the yogis, go over there with the surfers, go over there with the hip-hop cats, sit here and drink tea with the tea folk. Do it all, and there's no reason why anyone can't do that, but it's just about making a conscious effort to do so.
I lived in Russia for 6 years, and listening to you speak Russian was just like, it just brought this image of how rare it is to see an African descent person speaking Russian. Not that it doesn't happen, but it's rare. And it brought to mind how in this Indonesian culture, I assume, and I could be wrong, but I assume that seeing somebody of African descent is probably more rare for Southeast Asian people. What's your experience of that? Especially because a lot of the conversation that we have over in the West is like racism and things like that. So just curious if you could speak on that.
Sure. Well, Southeast Asia is big, and each country has their experience. Like Vietnam they've seen African Americans because of the history of American GIs going there. Right. So going through Vietnam it's not a big, same in Japan. They've seen, well, it depends where you go in Japan. But for the most part, when I first came to Bali, it was a big shock for a lot of people. I was constantly being laughed at or interact with like I was a character in a movie. Because
like Morgan Freeman.
Huh?
Morgan Freeman.
No, more of the yo man, what's happening?
A caricature of you of what a.
And it wasn't and I was sensible enough to know that it wasn't coming from a place of disrespect, but their reference point has just only been from movies, and a lot of the movies coming at a certain period of time, particularly if we're coming in through the 90s and such, a lot of those movies had that imagery being projected out. And so they're just trying to connect based on what they think I receive as a greeting. And I would just respond like, Abacabada. Yo man, what's up? Bye, Saja. But in the initial stages of being here, I understood that, but still, it would add up. It would be like, damn, okay. there's a whole lot of myths going on around these parts, right? And at the time, I didn't know that. I had no clue that I would end up being here for this long. Not at all. Like my process coming over here wasn't even like I moved here. It just was, life was presenting new situations that were inviting me to step into, and I would step into them. And then just this amount of months became a year, became 2, so on and so forth. But over time, and really, really rooting in that, you know, most people are coming from a certain perspective that is just ignorance based on media, that here's an opportunity actually to dispel a lot of those myths. And a lot of the reason of me staying for so long was because of the hip hop kids that were just getting into hip hop, really committed to wanting to learn specifically the dance. But DJs are starting to happen. Like the first hip hop club had opened when I arrived here down in Kuta. So all that was just starting to jump off, and I grew up in it. So I had something that I can offer them. Say, okay, yeah, you guys are feeling that, but no, it's not like you see on MTV. Don't be over here just if you're trying to rap, just be like, motherfucker, what's up? Nah, man, that ain't what it's about. What's in your heart? If that's how you want to dance, you don't have to copy this person over here. How are you moving? You know, so, and within that, you can also bring what's coming from this land into your dance. So like we were the first in this country to really fuse traditional hip-hop dance with traditional dance. So like we got choreography where it's b-boying and catch-up put together, you know? So that was, as that started to happen more, and I just was in the community more, and people started to know who I was and what I was offering, people just got more comfortable, you know? And so, and then as recently over the last, 5 years or so, there's been a lot of people of African descent just traveling a lot and coming to Bali. So now it's like everybody's seeing people who have darker skin, so it's not a thing.
And actually that relates to, we've talked about how Ubud and Bali, we talk a lot about infusing today, infused you, but talking about this, there's, like, you've brought also a lot to Bali and Ubud, and you talked about the hip hop culture, and you're also organizing the poetry nights at cafe, you're organizing here very original events with your wife, you're a DJ, so like, yeah, what do you feel Kamau has been bringing to Ubud in all these years?
Well, it comes back to just balance, as I was saying in the beginning. I just provide balance. When things are too much of one thing, if I'm allowed to be in a space to share, then I'm gonna provide what's missing, or remind people of what other aspects that are also there to be looked at. So on us, that may rub some people the wrong way, and it's happened, like especially things like ecstatic dance, where like, oh my God, they're playing Snoop Dogg in ecstatic dance. Oh my God.
You had backlash for that?
Oh, bruh.
Snoop Dogg.
Bruh. There's always something. No matter what you do, somebody's gonna complain. Nobody. You will not appeal to everybody, and I learned that a long time ago. Whatever. There's always gonna be somebody who's got an issue with it.
That could be fun actually if you have a few other examples of things you did that triggered people.
Well, I mean,
Snoop Dogg had ecstatic dance. That's one.
We'll say it like this. A lot of people, again, people are in different levels of their spiritual journey, their growth and expansion. And if a person is still, even though they may not be in a religious system, but still if they have a religious mentality, which means this is what I do to get this, and this is the only thing that I do. And they have a basic framework that this is what it is, and anything outside of that framework, it isn't. If they have that, then they're gonna have an issue with something if that doesn't fit in their thing. So even though the principle of, just keeping on the ecstatic dance example, if the principle of ecstatic dance is to open up and get people to raise their vibration and move into an ecstatic state. There's many ecstatic states, not just I. And there are many different ways to get to that space. But if I think the only way to get there is festival beats, boom, deep bass, Indian mantra singing in there, kirtan things, if that's my only framework for ecstatic dance, and something like dance hall comes in, which maybe I'm not familiar with, then I'm going to have an issue to the degree that I'm comfortable with trying new things. And so, and not, this isn't a prevalent thing, no, but the unfortunate thing is that people who are triggered are often very loud. So it can be, you can have 100 people in a room and 2 people get triggered. They're always the one who's going to go to complain.
The loudest voices.
The loudest voice. Because a lot of people just have their time and then they go about their way. But if those 2 people do loud enough and you have someone who is really in a business mindset, then that person who's in the business mindset is going to listen to those 2 people and not even hear the other people who silently appreciate. You know, so that's where you can get some conflict. So
if they're good business people that know that a little bit of polarity can actually be good for their business.
Well, it's great for them. I mean, and this is the thing, when you have enough diverse expressions of something, then it allows for it all. If one thing's become too dominant, then there's an imbalance, right? And so, like now, ecstatic dance has a very distinct sound.
Yes.
This is ecstatic dance, and you can take this to other things. This is what it is, right? And so people start to, they start to contain what was once a free expression to make it sound, because there's a formula to get people into these states. It's very, very easy to duplicate the formula. I can just throw on that Dea Dova track and it's over. Everybody's up there. Get one person screaming, everybody's gonna scream. Just keep the tempo up there because that's where we gotta keep it. But then it dilutes everything and it takes away from the freedom. And so, and back to the aspect of balance, you know, I'll just come through and disrupt. If everybody's all light, I'll be like, hey, look at the dirt over here. If everybody's all dirt, oh man, that cloud is beautiful right there. Just to balance it out a little bit. And in doing that, of course, somebody who's all light, they got a problem with the dark. If somebody's all dark, they got problems with the light.
It's an interesting balance. I remember when I was working with you giving us the assignment at ecstatic dance, since it's a topic, of standing, and the only rule was I can't dance. Were you there that day?
No.
Oh man, this is a practice for you. It would be amazing to have you do it. But for me, it was an amazing practice because I'm so over hyper, right? Like, it's like, for me, it's like, oh, the music's playing, the girls are dancing, I'm like, I'm ready to go. And I had to
I think I'd be fine with that. I do that at ecstatic dance, and I just stop. Or I sit and meditate in the middle of the, in the eye of the storm.
Yeah, well, I was like right in the center of the room, like, whoom. And it was so interesting for me. It was such an amazing, and I
Oh yeah, I remember actually.
Were you there that day?
Yeah, I was like, what's happening to Lawrence?
Yeah. I took on so much, and I got to see people. And by listening to you, I also got to see myself, like the other versions of myself that I normally don't get to see, very rarely get to see. And the Ubud on T is giving me an opportunity as we like watch the playbacks of the episodes. I'm like, oh, I'm that guy. Ooh, reminds me of my first ecstasy trip in the mirror. Like, ooh, everything I hate about other people is in my reflection. What I wanted to bring up is identity. And it seems to me that part of your work as you're not a coach necessarily, or maybe you could call yourself a teacher. I don't know exactly how you would identify yourself, but whatever the work is, I'm feeling is about having people dissolve their identity and then choose consciously who they're going to be as they step forward.
Sure.
How is that something that, is that satisfying when you see that? Is it, I'm sure it's many things. Can you speak to that?
It is. It's like, for me, it's not necessarily a thing about something to bring satisfaction, and more of just a means of being able to navigate different situations, because different situations call for different hats, so to speak, different energies to be brought forth. You know, in one context, just using an elemental example, in one context, fire is necessary, and you bring in that fire. Another context, water is necessary. Another context, just be earth and just be still with it. You know, so to be able to unlock oneself from saying I'm this and just attaching to this, because a lot of us got to this I'm this, but really it's actually your parents, it's your school, it's the religion you may have been a part of or still a part of, it's all these other things that have been saying this is who you are. And so the tendency is to believe that this is who I am. But if one can strip that away and say, okay, like to really take the time to look within and say, okay, what from my history that was put into me is really what I feel and is truly part of the core of who I am. If one does that inner work and can find that and says, yeah, this is cool, then one can retain that. If one discovers that there are certain things that this has been a big block to my progress, this obviously ain't me. So can I clear this out? And in clearing that out, that opens up space to discover who one truly is. Now ultimately, if we're going to go to the real micro, simultaneously the macro, then we're everything and nothing. We're all is one. We get back to that, but not in the cliche sense of, oh, everything is one. Hey, we should just no. But experientially to move into that space where all those things dissolve away. I'm no longer from this country. I'm no longer born unto this family. I'm no longer holding this concept about how life should be. I'm just total beingness. And then what happens after we reemerge from that state, right? Of course, a part of the spiritual progression is to have that state become more of where the consciousness is being rooted, as opposed to these things that aren't really real, that are temporary. Because as soon as this flesh goes, then who are you? If I've been identifying with my country of origin as who I am, everything associated with that country, I'm like, okay, I'm doing this because this is because, and then I lose the physical body. I'm gone. I'm no longer in this form. Am I still from that place? Am I still that? Is that informing my existence now? Nah. I'm in the form of a physically a man. When I die, when this dies, and I'm in the essence that is animating this, and I have the ability to shape myself as I see fit, it will be very, very clear that I'm not really a man. I'm just in this space of being one for this particular duration of time. But now if I identify with that, then all of my experience are going to be rooted in that. If I say I'm a man, then everything is going to be this polarity thing of I'm a man and whatever I believe that to be.
Don't cry.
You feel me? All of that, If I'm a woman, everything is related to being a woman. Everything woman. I'm just constantly looking at things in terms of masculine and feminine, so I can align with the feminine. Mm-hmm. Is that who you truly are, though? Because again, once your physical is going to die, it is going to die. You are one day not gonna be in the form of a woman or a man, trans, whatever you're identifying with. You're not gonna be in that form. Who are you then? So for me, it's cultivating that awareness and bringing my consciousness there, and then allowing that to be infused in what is being done.
Yeah, that's amazing, and I don't know if it's part of your journey, but it's for me. I like sometimes experiencing plant medicine for that, and the word you put in it is very close to an experience I would have on plant medicine around identity, was stripping away everything, or almost feeling like a dissolution and a death, and then coming back into the game, the lila, this reality, and seeing which part of that identity I might keep because it serves me, and that's where I'm at now in that body of a man, for example, and which one really don't serve me. So, I mean, I find it fascinating that thing around identity, and make me think of some of my experimentation with the plants, for example, and the way you spoke to it was reminding me of that.
Like the ecstatic dance of just standing there again, right?
Yeah.
How you were saying how prior to that, you were just fully
it was
animated energy going and moving and wow. And to now be on the total opposite end of the spectrum of that, you know, and why I did that, I can just explain. Like, the reason for that is, one, that we do not have to follow the wave and the dictates of what's going on in the environment. That we do have a choice in that, right? Two, that whatever we think we're supposed to be doing, we have a choice in that, right? Three, we can be on the total opposite spectrum of who we think we are. And if we're doing that, it's proving that we're actually not that.
Yeah.
Nor are we that,
Yeah.
where we're at now. That we are the spectrum. And depending on what is being presented, we have a choice, which is ultimately coming down to the essence of it, that we have a choice in what we do in different situations. Right? And the progress of us opening up and the inner work, as people will say, or the process of self-discovery, is really getting back to that choice, because we grew up not having the choice. We grew up being indoctrinated into things.
Mm-hmm.
And this is part of that process, is to say, okay, I'm going to do what is not expected, whether self-expected or expected from the external environment, you know? And then once that is taking place and felt, and you feel what that feels like, then it's like, okay, I can step into it. I can not step into it. I can contribute in this way. I can contribute in that way. And now it's more of a natural space of what is being called to be contributed, not an externally dictated that you're supposed to do this.
Do you still have experiences where you are conscious that you have a choice, yet it starts to come on and like marinate within you? Like in relationships, sometimes it's like, I know better than this, but fuck, I'm getting frustrated. If you have experiences like this, what do you do in the moment to be able to shift and move back into like this dissolve?
Just take a deep breath.
Yeah.
That's actually interesting to put it in context. Also, we just had a guest before called Daniel Wynn, and we talked about emoting. Yeah. And when you're angry, for example, like the punching a pillow or something. And what I was discussing about is for me personally, that sometimes if I'm angry, I can punch the pillow and have it out of my system that way. Or sometimes I feel maybe I just want to sit with it and breathe into it, rather than, because the risk is to fuel it also. So I find it interesting to have Kamau now that you asked this question, and I wanted to bring that context also.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's beautiful, the way that you related it. I've seen you in a situation like that, with somebody that was unhappy with the situation, and I was like, wow, watching Kamau, because I also saw your vulnerability in that situation, yet I also saw the stillness in the breath that you just showed right now. And to speak to you, what's interesting, Alex and I, in the last few weeks, have been doing Kundalini yoga together. And I mean, I'm in the yoga world, so Kundalini's not new, but I've never done it consistently. And one of they call it Kriyas, is we like, for 15 minutes are like this.
Sure.
And breathing. Anyhow, it's ridiculous, at least like visually, for a lot of people who don't know what it is.
I'll stay like this until the end of the podcast.
Yeah, awesome. Straight in those elbows. But one of the things that I've gotten from this, is to speak to your point, is the teacher speaks to transmute the pain.
Yeah.
And that's not something that I was able to do before. But by consistently practicing this, I'm like, and then I literally experience the electricity moving towards my transmutation, towards manifestation. And whether it's just up here or not, I have seen how it has shifted me. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many different modalities that are geared towards transmuting whatever needs to be transmuted. So much often it's anger, sadness, grief, these different things. there are many modalities, and different teachers provide these different opportunities, because that's what they are, is just opportunities. And it can be something from that, and which is funny because it's very similar to the exercise that I do in dance class, just a different approach, but similar.
Qigong exercises also. I know you're into Qigong. Sometimes you keep a form like this.
Sure. All of it is to turn the awareness inward, to allow the processes that happening energetically to come to the forefront and do what the body naturally wants to do, is be in harmony with itself. Right? So all these different things being done to provide that opportunity. And with, like, for example, the anger, and it also comes back to meditation as well. So there's the dynamic things that are being done, but there's also just the subtle of just move into that space of being able to be and allow, because what that's going to do is it's going to create that stopgap. It's going to widen the time between an emotion rising and it hits the fullness of your being. There's a little thing, so there's choice in that, and I often will say to folks that, that reaction, that word reaction, if you just take that C and place it in the front, it becomes creation. So you got to see first, and you'll be able to create within a situation. So if one is consistently breathing and cultivating the ability to just take a deep breath, to allow that deep breath to be sustained, then when those situations come up, then they're easier to deal with, because that energy that is there, it's not about pushing it away. It arises, but it doesn't dominate. The emotion doesn't take over one's expression. One can still be in their conscious mind, recognizing the energy is there, but being able to keep it from to keep it from grabbing the reins and making the decisions of what to happen next. Right? Which is what most people don't know how to do. So when that anger arises, then it's just boom, and it goes everywhere. Punching a pillow is great. That's a way, because the energy can be released. If you can't transmute it, then you want to release it, otherwise it's going to get stuck somewhere, and all kind of other problems arise. So that's great, but that's also temporary. There's so much going on, and there's not always pillows around, right? Yeah. So we want to be able to learn different ways in order to transmute the energy when it does arise, and then over time in practice, then it doesn't arise. Because for me, the practice is great to be able, in a situation where someone is moving into anger and projecting it on, to move into the space of compassion, because that person it's not me, or anybody else. It's whatever happened somewhere else that just got triggered, just popped up and is now being projected.
That's beautiful, because I feel you're really an embodiment of that. And it's interesting, as you said, I think there's different modalities, and I joke sometimes you can see what people practice. Like Kundalini people, for example, in general, they'll have super high energy, but they're more like that kind of energy. You, Kamau, sometimes I say to me, you are Qigong. It's like when I see you in your daily life, right, which is what you want. It's not to be Qigong during your practice, but in everyday life, and keeping that calm. And that's beautiful achievement in a way to sustain that state, and that's very inspiring.
Bless. And ultimately, it's about the embodiment of whatever we have said. This, I flow with this, to be able to bring it. So there is no division between that quote unquote practice time and life, because it's all the same.
Kamau was watching somebody heavily criticize me with anger once upon a time, and I remember I went into this is so interesting, because we had Sophia on with human design, and as a manifesting generator, I'm not supposed to explain myself. Basically, it's like not supposed to defend myself, according to that. And also it came up with the Daniel podcast earlier too. But Kamau, just as this woman was flooding me with her emotions, and I was like, but excuse me, like that's not exactly what I said. Like I was going down that route. Kamau was like, you don't have to say anything. You gave me permission to not say anything. And I didn't have the ability or capacity to just like, in that moment, I had to go and emote. But it does bring me back to that moment of, and all the things that came up today of like, just like, learn to transmute that intense amount of energy that's moving through my body.
Sure.
Yeah.
And interestingly, what was the piece that got created from that energy?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It was a beautiful piece. It was a beautiful experience that has definitely shifted me. Yeah. So there's a lot of gift out of that. 100%. Thank you for speaking to that too.
Sure. Because what we're dealing with is just energy, all of it.
Yeah.
All of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it can be used in a creative way. You know, it doesn't have to be destroying someone else. Again, there's times for destruction, but ultimately, if we choose to, it can be a creative force. Even those difficult situations, if we can step into the position to see it as such, right? Mm-hmm. And if we're able to navigate life, like everything that is taking place is just an opportunity to step to another phase of knowledge of self, another stage in the awareness of self, the expression of self, the being of self. And then when these different things come up, the energy is all there, but nothing gets clung on to. It's allowed to become something else. And then, you know, it's easier to navigate. You know, sickness doesn't come on as much. Mm-hmm. You know, we can forgive a lot easier, and we can be forgiven a lot easier, because we're not just like, it must be this way. This reality being presented right now is not exactly how I want it to be. Therefore, everybody else is messed up and I've got it. And if everybody else just gets right, it'll be all good. Yeah. It doesn't go like that.
What's coming?
And just I want to raise, we're about the 1 hour.
Yeah. I was gonna say, Kamau, you might have something that you might want to share with us today. Maybe a piece. So that's something that we might do now.
Hey.
Yeah, maybe a piece of Pagi. And if you have something like a poem or just something you want to share with us, we had prepared you. So if you're still into that, and I have one question.
Sure.
And the question is our signature question of, what is normal in Ubud that in the rest of the world or in any other place would just be considered weird and out there?
What is normal in Ubud that would be considered weird and out there in other places?
Yeah.
That this may be on the same block, let's say, on the same strip. You know, and every city, town has a strip. You can have the most vegan restaurant in the world right here, raw, perfectly organic, all that stuff. Right across from there, you can have, you know, a Bobby Guling spot, which is fully pork roasted food, turling over here. Go down a little bit, you have a very beautiful yoga shala, people practicing yoga. Just go down another way. There's some people in the room with their arms spread open, going, doing that.
Who would do that?
Go down the next room, you have people in total, you know, peace, just sitting in silence, sipping on tea. Go down a little bit further, people are dancing their whole life out. Go down a little bit further, there are people who are cultivating, you know, magic in some way. They're playing with crystals or learning spells or something like that.
Yeah. And then
go down another way, you got people who, you know, are trying to, you know, play out their, I don't know, their sexual fantasies and, and keep going down, and you have people totally
beating a pillow.
Yeah, people beating a pillow. You got people totally dedicated to the upliftment of the planet. You go down a little bit further, you got people who are totally into, you know, the connection with the rivers and the mountains and offering and being in service to life. Go down a bit further, you got people who just want to make everything harmonious for other beings. Go down, you got someone who's totally lost their shit. And this is like, doesn't know where they're at and can't, can't find their center. And then go a little bit further, you got someone who's been centered for like 50 years. You know, you got all this in like this very small square radius.
And we call that a Monday. We call that a Monday in Ubud.
You know, it's not, for me, it's not any, I've been on a lot of places, I've seen a lot of things. It's not any just like one thing, oh, that's here, that's not. I've seen a lot of things in other places, same. But the collage of it all in such a small space is what is rare.
And that relates a bit to the question of what human design would Ubud be, and why it was so hard to decide one. It's because the collage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say that it's the collage of all these different elements coming together in such a small place that's very unique.
So here we are at the Dragon Temple Tea House. This is your environment. This is the mic that's clipped onto your kimono.
Okay.
It's going to be interesting to see as I invite you and create the space for you to do Kamau, be Kamau in a performance piece.
Okay. I was saying I'll share something that I haven't shared. That is, it came up on my Facebook memories, and I was like, oh yeah, this spot, this piece, I like this piece. Though I'll have to show it to you. You can read it afterwards. I mean, the audience can't, but you guys can read it just to see how it's written, because how it's written plays a part in it. It was more literary than vocal, but I'll vocalize it. It's called archetypes, like archetypes.
Archetypes.
That's a yawn. Empowerment, embodiment, and boogeyman. Toroidal yin yangster's paradise. Feminasculine soul strip searching. Infinite love knocking. Ma'at whispering clearly in the heart. He, art, here, together. To get her. Understand the poetry of silence and realize there is nothing to get. That's a genderless salute. Agendas, poof. Magical beings woo weigh that shit. Old dirty baggage weighed against the feather will always plummet. Amit munching. Game over. Insert coins. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. History holds a battle axe above the neck of now. Off with his head, screams the queen, bitch. Equals a king of sorrow clapping. Who can accept the hands they were dealt and love anyways? All cards thrust on the table. Who be loved anyways? The entire court is clapping with puckered lips and puckered faces. All praise due to the gray-haired Neteros. Outer expression, inner harmonious Neteru. Who be loved anyways? Yeah, so that's a little one. I like to. Yeah, just to see a little bit. I'll show you real quick. Just because see, there's elements in here that are just where there's wordplay that is.
Okay, maybe we'll put a
can't really-
screenshot on the
can't
episode
really-
at some point.
Translate that. Maybe I'll try that one day just to see how would I say this like vocally. I tried anyway.
Is that on one page?
Yeah, we can share it.
Yeah, I'll send it to you, and you can see what you can do with it.
Thank you. We have a little bit more tea, and how we usually close the show is our guest slurps the tea as slurpy as possible. I hope it's hot enough for it to be useful for you to slurp.
Is that just me, or are we slurping together? What is
you.
that? Just
Just
me?
you, bro.
Okay. Can I get a sample of this? Maybe I'll put it in a song. So I'm just like, no,
For sure.
Let's see. You're all watching like
We'll look away.
my slurp technique.
It's not a competition, but that was the all-time best.
Yeah, not a competition, but you're winning.
That was fun.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Kamau. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Lawrence.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you to the people who listen. Don't forget to like, subscribe on YouTube,
you.
on iTunes, on Spotify,
Thank
on
you.
Instagram. If you like the episode, you can screenshot, also share on Instagram, put at Ubud on T. And what's up for you, Kamau? How can people follow you?
On Instagram, Kamau Abayomi. Kamau, where we at? Kamau Abayomi. That's all of it. It's the same. There's also Taluvi Arts, which is the offerings that myself and my wife that we share. So yeah, holla. There's a variety of offerings that are available. Just holla.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. That was awesome. Felt
Thank
good.
you.
Energizing.
Thank y'all. Peace. Double it up like this, right? Okay, so namaste. Then we go qigong. And then we just, bro it up. Awesome. Peace, bro. Yeah, that was cool. Good.
Cool.
And you got the cool I Ching, 24, return it, get the return in.
What's the 24?
The return.
The return. And
Cool.
15 was harmony.
Modesty.
Modest.
Modesty. This is the return.
Yeah.
So what does that mean, the return? Like,
Well, it depends on your query. It's
Okay.
I Ching, so you would have a query in your mind or a question in your mind and then toss the coins. And